You are welcome to the show, the Hoodie Guy podcast. Thank you all for subscribing to this channel. And just as I said that I just have one vision: to awaken every youth to their potentials. And I hope you had enjoyed the previous episode on how did we get here. Kindly drop your comments in the comment section as to your thoughts, what you had learned from the previous episode. But today's episode is going to be another thing. It's going to be a big blow because we are going to talk about a serious topic that really confronts the youth. As a human being, one of the things that would be battling with your mind is about knowing who you are. Because when the question is being asked that, who are you? We are mostly quick to answer that my name is so and so. But when you are asked that, who are you? That is a big question, and that has to do with our topic for today: identity. What is identity? Or just as people would say, what is your identity? What is what identify you? What is what gives you that value? What is what gives you your worth? A lot of people, when they are being confronted by some bullies and then some people who try to intimidate them, the first defensive action that comes is that I know my worth. Yes. And that answer, that I know my worth, it gives you a clue that every human being knows that there is a particular thing about them that they are yet to uncover. And that is what we call identity. Now, today's topic, I want you to just psych your mind and then put yourself in that scenario. And just know that we are just having this conversation together. I want you to know that just stick with me and listen to every single bit of information that would be spoken, that would be spoken about. Because at the end of this particular topic, you would come to the realization that the reason why you feel depressed, the reason why you feel anxious, the reason why you feel that kind of insufficiency, the reason why you feel inadequate is simply because you have not answered the question, who are you? If you can hear me clearly, I want you to begin to ask yourself that, who am I? What makes you who you are? And that is the topic we are speaking about: identity. Now when we say identity, it is not any big word. It just means that very thing that distinguishes you from any other person. And talking about identity, it brings us to a thin line of what we call purpose. Because what would identify the usage of this mic is because it has a purpose to fulfill. And when you do not know your purpose on this earth, you would be living a miserable life. The reason why you are at work and then you do not feel that sense of happiness, that sense of fulfillment, is simply because what you are doing does not align with your assignment on this earth. And I would want to quote a particular quote from a very distinguished personality, Dr. Miles Monroe. He says that when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. In simple words, it just tells you that when you don't know the purpose for a particular thing, you can abuse it anyhow. And that should tell you that when we say the economy of a country, reason why a lot of officials or a lot of ministers of state tend to abuse the economic resources of the state is simply because they do not know the reason why that particular resources has been entrusted into their hands. Because if you knew that the resources of every country depends on how well it is efficiently used, then you would not misuse funds. But that was just by the way. Back to our topic: identity. What identifies you as a human being?
3, 2, 1.
What makes you special? What makes you unique? Is something I want you to really check yourself. Ask yourself, what is that one thing that makes you unique? Now, boiling down to the word purpose, I realize that it has been a particular subject that is less spoken of, because when you always want to have that discussion on purpose, it gives some kind of inconvenience. It gives some kind of uncomfortability. It gives some kind of uneasiness, because it's a big question of humanity. Now, when you do not know your purpose as a human being, you will be doing all kinds of things. You might get to somewhere and you might think that that is your destination, but because you haven't discovered your purpose, so you will just be moving about. And I would want to say this, that no amount of salary you receive can fulfill or can fill that void that fulfillment gives. You know why you are not happy? It's simply because you have not identified yourself. The reason why you compare yourself to others is simply because you have not identified who you are. The reason why when people say things it gets to you is because you haven't identified who you are. The reason why you listen to insults and then feel intimidated is simply because you haven't identified who you are. Who are you? What is your identity? Now, talking about purpose, every human being on this earth has an assignment, because God is so great that when He created everyone, He made sure that He gave everybody a specific assignment to do. And that is the reason why when you are not doing that assignment, you feel very frustrated and very useless. It is not your fault, but it is simply because you have not taken time to discover who you are. Now, when you go to the market and you find out any product, you know that you check the manual, you check its product label, you check the services people render. It just has to do with you are trying to identify what they do, or what the product offers, or what the service offers. This reminds me of a story of a young man who was employed to one of the topmost accounting firms in the United States of America. He was doing so well, having the best of salaries. But one day he asked himself this question, that what is the value, or what is the benefit or advantage for getting all these salaries, yet he cannot find himself, or he cannot align happiness to his line of work. And that should let you know that you can be receiving the topmost salary in your firm, but if you are not working on your assignment, you would never be happy. Now, talking about assignments, if all of us have our individual assignment that have been given to us, then it means that we have a duty of care to find out what that assignment is. And to find out that assignment is to go deeper, is to dig about what was in your build-up. Everything has a build-up. And it is very necessary and very expedient to know what at all came up to make your build-up. Now, a lot of people say that I'm short and then I don't like why I'm short. Probably you have not found out why you are short. Have you asked why you are short? Probably you too might be also tall, and then you are asking yourself that why am I so tall like that? You may have a normal height and be asking yourself that why do I have this normal height? It's simply because you have not taken time to identify who you are. And that is why you are always thinking, you are always trying to compare yourself to another person. Now, one of the things that really makes comparison very, very disgusting is simply because now you are trying to compare something that has different abilities. Every human being have a separate abilities, and that is what distinguishes them from one another. And if you are trying to compare the abilities of this microphone to the abilities of the camera, it means you are trying to just make something that doesn't exist, because the camera is to capture while the microphone is to what? Record the sound. These are two separate things. But you would see people today, they are comparing. And this goes to most especially the ladies. I would want to just tell you this, that regardless of who you are, regardless of what you look like, you must begin to go deeper. You must begin to go deeper to discover who you are. Identity is something very important because it is that one thing that can make you bold, that can make you go after your dreams, that can make you go after opportunities without looking at the societal pressure. Now there is something that the society does that really affects us as humans. Society in basic terms means culture. And when we say culture, culture is a way of life of a particular group of people. Now, what at all forms culture is that knowledge gives what? Forms orientation, and orientation forms culture. It means the reason why some people have a particular culture is simply because they were able to get a knowledge and then they were oriented or they were conscientized with that knowledge. And as a result of that, they now agree that, okay, this is our culture. Now, what I want to let you know is that when we say culture, what is culture? That is the way people do things. But one thing society has not been able to achieve personally is that society had always created that particular gap where people try to live within or even outside their means, trying to what? Please society. And this would bring us to what we call people pleasers. If you're a human being and you want to get out from that stretch of identity, you should learn how to say no. When was the last time somebody said something and then that particular thing is going to inconvenience you and you were able to say no? Because in your mind, once you say no, they are going to be offended. Who cares? Who cares about someone getting offended whilst whatsoever thing that you want to align to wouldn't help you? Who cares about that? Young man, young woman, youth listening to me, until you identify who you are. And I can say this boldly without the fear of any strong contradiction, that nobody is coming for you. If you think you can meet your destiny helper as a mediocre, that is a lie. You cannot be an ordinary person and receive the kind of praises you are expecting to receive. You cannot be an ordinary person and then be that kind of personality that you have been dreaming of. But there is one thing that is going to distinguish you. There is one thing that is going to make you identify your unique personality. And it has to do with gifts. So if you see the chain of our discussion, we started from identity, which is the bigger picture, who you are. And then we quickly switch to purpose, which has to do with the reason why you are on this earth. Then from purpose, we now came down to assignment, which is what you have to solve on this earth. Listen, talking about assignment, you remember back then in junior high school when our teachers gives us assignments, others call it homework. They give you that assignment to go and do it. And when you copy someone else's assignment, what do? They flog you with canes. So at times, some of the lazy students back then, they wouldn't even submit the assignment. But then the serious ones are going to look at the assignment, look into how they can solve that assignment so that they submit it to their teachers. Now, you were not born by yourself. You were not created by yourself. The person who created you gave you an assignment, and that assignment is what you should come and do on this earth. Who are you? What is your identity? Now, talking from assignment, then we can now switch to gifts. Now, gift is something that people less value it. And at times when I look at how people treat the subject of gift, it really marvels me. For your information, there is no king on this earth. There is no big person on this earth. There is no person of high status in this society that would go after ordinary things. No. Kings are looking for extraordinary things. Kings are looking for unique things. Kings are always looking for that thing that marvels them. And that is where your gift comes in. That is what identifies you. That is what makes you who you are. The voice that you have refused to use to sing is that voice that is going to make a room for you. Have you forgotten? He said, your gift would make room for you and bring you before great men. Seeth a man diligent in his work, he shall appear before kings. Now, the reason why you are frustrated in your single room self-contained is simply because you have decided to copy what others are doing. You have decided to go by what the society is saying. You have decided to please people. And I would want to make this clear, not to disrespect our parents, but I would just want to say that when when your child or when your ward wants to do something that they are so passionate about, please allow them to do it. When your ward wants to be in the visual department, just allow them. Once it aligns with their strength, it is their gift that needs expression. And so many times when we talk about dream killers, we think they are far from us. But I'm sorry to tell you that a lot of dream killers are within. And a lot of parents have played that role of killing people's dream. This reminds me of a story of a young lady, a very intelligent young lady called Marie, who rose to the highest rank of a comptroller general of immigration. And the day she was being given this highest position in the immigration, all of a sudden her family saw her crying in tears, very, very bitterly. She was, crying so much. And then they were asking her why she's crying, and she's like, yes, she's been able to rise through the ranks to the highest rank of a comptroller general of immigration, yet she still feels inadequate. She still feels unfulfilled. She still feels that kind of, insufficiency, like incompleteness. And it's simply because Marie wasn't happy with her position. She wasn't happy with whatsoever thing she's been able to achieve. And that is why we are speaking about the topic identity. What identifies you? Whatsoever thing that identifies you is going to give you that flow, is going to give you that happiness. And I define success in this way, that success is your ability to discover your potentials or your identity to the highest level, such that your gift gain expression and are being refined to help solve problems on this earth. Now, the definition of success that I gave, there are various elements that you can find in it. You can find what? Ability. And now that ability has to do with you going the extra mile to discover what makes you special, what identifies you. Another element in the success definition I gave is identity, which has to do with the topic we are speaking on today. Success has been defined in so many ways. And I know young people, everybody is talking about success. I want to succeed. But I want to tell you that success can be characterized in these four words. Number one, significance. Number two, legacy or impact. Number three, we have relevance. Success can be defined in what? These four words. Number one, we have significance. Number two, we have impact. Number three, we have happiness. And then number four, we have achievement. Now, what identity does for you is that once you are able to know your identity, it happens to give you a highest form of achieving this success. Because once you are able to identify who you are, you would be happy, you would achieve great things, you would leave an impact or a legacy, and you will be significant in the society. Ladies and gentlemen, as I wrap up, I want to tell you that find out the big question, discover who you are, answer the question, whom am I? And that is going to give you a clue to identify you and distinguish you among all men. And as the saying goes, seeth a man diligent in his works, he shall appear before kings. Your gift is the only thing that would make room for you, and that is the only thing that would identify you uniquely. As I wrap up, I want to urge you, do not give up on finding yourself. Do not give up on finding out that thing that makes you unique, because it would open doors for you. This is the hoodie guy, and see you in the next episode. And as I always say, until you rise, I will not stop.